Hello and welcome to another one of our short talks on all things vegan. My name is Anna Amelia and I'm from North East Animal Rights. Today for Veganuary we're concentrating on the big three: cheese, chocolate and chicken. Viva in Bristol did a study a couple of years ago on how difficult it is for people to give up these three. So we're going to be looking at these each in turn, and you need to come to a conclusion afterwards whether you still think an animal's life is worth your treat. So let's look first of all at cheese. Why do we crave cheese? Cheese contains a stimulant called tyramine, as well as tryptophan, which produces serotonin. Serotonin is a chemical which everybody needs to have a good mood and to feel well and have good mental health. People suffering from low mood and disorders like depression have low amounts of serotonin. But cheese also contains casein, which when digested results in casomorphins. Casomorphins are opioids, and this is from the same family as morphine and opium, and they produce feelings of euphoria, and those feelings are addictive. So if you're a cheeseaholic, this is why you crave cheese. But let's now look at the suffering involved in cheese. So obviously cheese comes from milk. A cow has to be pregnant to produce milk. If the cow gives birth to a male calf, known as bobby calves, the calves are shot in the head because they have little commercial value. Sometimes they're sold on for veal, which is the meat of a baby calf, and known for its pinkness because obviously it's so young. Some males will be kept for beef, but again, they're killed very young, usually around the age of 2. A female calf will be separated from her mother, but within 48 hours after birth, because she wants to drink the milk that her mother produces, but the farmer needs to sell. There are loads of images on social media now of mothers being separated from their babies. Jackie Norman from Vegan FTA down in New Zealand is an ex-dairy farm worker, and she says she's still haunted by what she had to do when the time came to separate the mothers from the babies. The babies are then fed on a cheap milk substitute, while us humans drink their baby's milk. So how twisted is that? You'll also see social media images of babies with spikes around their mouths and noses, and that's because it's to make the mothers push them away. Obviously, it's painful if these spikes are going into their udders, and to stop them drinking the milk which is intended for them. You will see images of mothers who have their legs shackled to stop them from doing the splits because of nerve damage through constant impregnation and birthing. And let's also take a moment to remind ourselves that these beautiful animals are artificially inseminated by a human, forcing bull semen into their vagina, and the restraining of the animal while that happens. We also know that there's a law passed where farmers are supposed to have got rid of the bobby calf shootings on farms. That come into place last year, and by the end of 2021, farmers were supposed to have in their production management processes, they were supposed to have this in place where they got rid of all this horrible shooting animals at birth. Part of this is to do with sex semen, so less male calves are being born. However, we have no facts and figures. Obviously, in 2021 it's just passed, so we have no facts and figures in relation to how successful that is. So that'll be interesting reading when it comes out. Now, a cow's natural lifespan is between 20 and 30 years, so say it's 25 years. But they're killed at 5 to 6 years because their bodies just can't cope with any more forced impregnations. That's if the bodies don't give up before, of course. Again, people will say downer cows, which are cows which have just given up. Otherwise, they're killed at 2 for beef, killed at a few months for veal, killed at birth if they have no commercial value. We have tens of thousands of perfectly healthy male calves who are shot at birth because they have no commercial value. Once the cows reach the end of their commercial usefulness, they are sent to slaughter, where they'll be pushed on the kill floor directly behind and in front of their terrified mates. A stun gun to the head, which will temporarily stun them if they're lucky and it hits in the right place. Then they're unceremoniously hoisted by a shackle to the back leg, and their throats are slashed by a blade. Then they're bled out, dazed, and sometimes aware of what is going on around them. Free range, organic, grass-fed, it doesn't matter. They all end up in exactly the same place. Let's look at the health part of this now as well. Milk contains growth hormones for the baby, for the cow's baby, not for adult babies, not for adult humans. Not for adult babies, not for human babies or human adults. It also contains pus from the udders of cows suffering from mastitis, as well as blood cells. And any human mother who has suffered from mastitis knows how painful that is. The EU, whose laws we automatically adopted when we left the EU, permits 400,000 pus cells per milliliter. So you imagine how small a milliliter is, and there's 400,000 allowed by law pus cells in that small area. And if you think organic is better, it's even worse, because farmers are not allowed to use antibiotics to treat the disease. So if a cow has mastitis, it's an organic farm, they can't give the cows any antibiotics. We also know the spurious badger cull as well was led by the mistaken and now misproven belief that badgers were spreading bovine TB. Misproven because we know that tests done on the bodies really indicated bovine TB was present. We also know that there was a massive dairy bailout during the pandemic, because people were buying less milk, less dairy milk. So again, there's massive taxpayer subsidies. So all the taxes you're paying, some of that is going towards bailing out this failing industry. And if that taxpayer subsidy was withdrawn, the dairy industry would fail immediately. So why shouldn't we, as taxpayers, demand that our taxes are going to a fairer system for all and a less cruel system for us, for the animals, and for the environment? So what are the alternatives? So let's have a look at some of the alternatives I've got here. Now, these are some of the ones you can get in shops. So this is Morrison's own brand, and it's mozzarella. It's great with mozzarella to go straight on pizzas, and it's absolutely fine. It melts fine. It tastes absolutely fine. No aftertaste. It just sort of like tastes and feels like, kind of like how I remember cheese to be. This one is a favourite of mine, Applewood. Okay, Applewood smoked. This is a really, really nice one. It's got like little bits of paprika around it as well, so you can taste the smokiness in it. Really, really nice tasty cheese. Then you have Violife, which do a variety of grated cheeses, soft cheeses, hard cheeses, but this is a standard cheddar one. This one I got from alternative stores, Greek style. It's a bit like a feta cheese, and that's really, really tasty. Nice, cool one. And then we've got Oatly, which is an oat spread. But again, I tend to use the own brands like Morrison's, Asda sort of thing, because they're cheaper and they're much more accessible. But if you're a cheeseaholic and you want to have a really, really tasty one, this is a really good example of one. Button Box Cheese over in North Shields, they do really good small versions of these as well. But this is a lovely cheese. This is the Ethiopian spice one. And if you can see inside, it's got loads of spices in there. It's a lovely, really creamy cheese. Okay, so you've got something for every budget there. You've got your cheap ones, which is the sort of the Morrison's own make. You've also got the artisan ones if you're a cheeseaholic and you want to sort of like try quite a few different varieties. So let's move on now onto chocolate. So why do we crave chocolate? When you're hungry and when you're feeling a bit down in the dumps, your body craves a quick sugar fix, which chocolate provides. It contains dopamines, which lower stress. I was a chocoholic and I craved a really, really good chocolate bar when I went vegan. That was like a big search for me. I was looking for an alternative to Whisper bars and flakes, because I like just the pure chocolate, rather than loads of chocolate with fillings and things. But I knew there's something involved in chocolate production, so I experimented with the many brands out there at the time. I had a cheap version when I just needed a quick treat and a sugar fix, but I bought a more expensive brand if I needed an extra special treat, or I'd ask for things for birthdays as well. But I also love white chocolate, so I was looking for an alternative to the Milky Bar. But I quickly realised it was actually the sweetness that I was craving, not actually so much the chocolate itself. When I was at work, I was constantly reaching for sweet stuff. So I started having sweet stuff like fruit and pears. But I also had a desperate need for chocolate in the afternoons, when you just have that sort of like lull after you've had your lunch. But again, if you look at the suffering involved in chocolate, exactly the same for cheese. It's the dairy production industry. There's absolutely horrendous suffering goes on. But also, we have to look at the human suffering as well. The cocoa production industry it's worth $130 billion per year, but the cocoa farmer gets paid $1 per day, and there's lots of instances of child labour here. So children being misused, abused in this production of this industry, and farmers not getting what they need as well. Obviously, if you're buying chocolate, you should be looking for fair trade stuff, so fair trade cocoa and fair trade chocolate if you can. Okay, make sure that the demand for fair trade goes up, so everyone can benefit. The farmers get what they're supposed to be paid, and we don't have children being used for labour and missing out a chance on education. But also, we're not, it's just a kind of way of living for all of us. So I'm going to show you some alternatives here. All the high street stores do their own brands. So we've got you have Morrison's, you have Asda, you have Tesco's, all do their own versions. I like Asda's Crunchy Crisp chocolate bars. Holland and Barrett do normal, which I absolutely love. I love the sea salt versions, and I love the caramel ones. Absolutely just delicious. I can down probably 3 of those in one go, which is, I shouldn't really admit, but I love them. Vigo bars are very, very, that kind of like chocolate taste you will remember. Vigo white chocolate as well. Alternative stores over North Shields Royal Keys have a vast selection, as do Sugar Noms and Teesside in the vegan kind supermarket. And all of these do online selling as well. So you can buy, if you're not local to them, you can buy it online. So I'm just going to show you a few varieties of what I've got. So this is mood free. This is kind of like what I would say the cheaper version, but it's a good quality product and perfect when you want a sugar fix. But they also do the white buttons. Love Raw is another one. Raw chocolate, vegan chocolate. It's a bit like the Kinder. I can't remember what they're called, but the Kinder Egg type, the Bruno Kinder ones. They are absolutely delicious. You also get a lovely white chocolate with sea salt as well, so they do loads of varieties. If you like Smarties, these are a lovely. I think they're a German brand, but they are a lovely tasty treat as well. Jevons do a fantastic range. This is kind of like a Rolo alternative, and then there's caramel. And then there's these Rizzos, which is kind of like a toffee crisp. The reason why I'm showing you the packets is because I've eaten them all. I ate them last night. And then you've got this one, which is a good range as well. These are kind of like Milky Ways. And then you have, this is a brand you can get in Phoenix, or you can get in alternative stores as well. And they have a load of different varieties, like Oreos and the oatmeal versions as well. So again, this is like going from the cheap to the more expensive, but they all taste absolutely delicious. And you know what it is? Part of the fun is finding out, going through all of these versions and finding out which ones you like. So now we're going to go on to chicken. So again, why do we crave chicken? Why is chicken the ultimate go-to food for children? Is it because it's the ultimate finger food, kind of like finger looking good? We hear this, people are putting the food straight into the mouth, and it's just a whole comfort thing. It's emotional eating. It's linking a food type to how it makes you feel, and remembering how it makes you feel, so you want more. If your mum and dad took you for a KFC or a burger when you were younger, you're associating this chicken, this food, with feeling happy, and you're going to want to repeat this feeling. You want to repeat the food. You're attaching the food to the memory. In the same way, if you're ill, people will give you chicken soup. Or you have a family roast dinner on a Sunday. It's associations of people being together, people being happy, which makes you feel better. But also, if you think of the spices on the fried version as well, so and how they make you want to eat more. They're quite salty. There's a lot of spices in them, and they're quite tangy, and they're very, very Moorish. It's a bit like, Doritos, the chili heat wave flavors. You kind of think you're going to go into them. You have a couple of them, but actually you end up eating the whole packet because they're so Moorish, and you just want to keep on eating them, and you polish the whole packet off. But now let's look at the suffering involved in chicken production. Hens, as we know, are bred for meat and for their eggs, but obviously we're talking about eating the bodies today, so we're just going to concentrate on that part. Every hour, 109,000 chickens are slaughtered for their bodies. That's 1,816 animals per minute, 30 per second. So by the time I've said 30 per second, that's another 30 animals which have been killed. They're killed by gassing, suffocating using foam, or the throats cut after being shackled upside down, and then they get plunged in the boiling water to loosen the feathers. Some hens will see the blades coming, so they'll lift their heads so they won't be fully stunned before they go into the water. So they go into the water, which is boiling hot, fully conscious, and they're burned alive and they're drowned. They're selectively bred to produce more meat. They have heavy bodies, massively heavy bodies on tiny legs. They live on their own excrement and ammonia causes burns. I know that because of the hens which we rescued, all of their bottoms were completely raw, and they had no feathers on them, and they were completely burnt red because of the ammonia burns. They're killed at 6 weeks old, 42 days. Okay, that is, in the lifespan is 9 years in the wild, but they're killed at 6 weeks old. They're still babies. If they're organic, they're killed at 7 weeks old, but they still sound like with the chirps, and have the blue eyes of the babies that they actually are. And again, in terms of slaughter, if they're free range, organic or caged hens, they're killed in exactly the same way. So what are the alternatives? So I'm going to show you some lovely alternatives here. Now, I'm not a massive fan of fake meat or meat alternatives. I've never really been into those because I didn't like the texture, and I was always sort of like worried that I would kind of like be tricked or misled or accidentally eat something. So I've never really gone down that route. But I know that a lot of people do like the alternatives, and there's nothing wrong or un-vegan, if you like, about eating those alternatives. If it's not an animal, it's perfectly reasonable for you to eat it. It doesn't matter. People aren't vegan always because, you know, sometimes vegans do like the taste, they do miss the taste, they miss the smells, they miss the texture. That's absolutely fine. As long as if you're having the alternatives, you're not killing animals. So these are some really, really good ones. So this is Vimondo, okay, chicken pieces, okay, and this is, you can add them into stews, soups, you can fry them up, you can put them into all sorts of things. This is Vimondo, which is from Aldi, okay, so this is a really, really cheap brand. Also do exactly the same thing. They have a plant-based range, and this is the shawarma chicken style pieces. So this is exactly the same again, but it has the spices on it. And then we have Fry's, which is a well-known brand for vegan food. They do the chicken burgers. So again, the chicken burgers, they produce some really, really good quality stuff with no supplement involved in them. Now, this is a brand which is particularly interesting, and this is going through the roof in terms of their sales. This is VFC. Now, VFC is a brand created by, co-created by Matthew Glover, who is a founder of Veganuary. And he obviously is producing all these now, and they've gone from doing local deliveries and everything to now selling this online, and you can actually buy this and get it delivered to you, or you can go to the shops. I mean, I bought this from alternative stores again, and when I did a big shop yesterday. So this is probably the closest you're going to get to KFC. So if you're looking for KFC equivalent, this is the one to go for. And obviously, this is called the one and only original fillets, but you can get spicy versions. You get a few different versions as well. Okay, so there we've gone through quite a lot there. What I'd also say is, if you are wanting any more convincing, if you want to kind of underpin what I've just told you there, you know, do your own research, look on social media. But you know, if you're looking at social media, make sure you look at a few different sources, so it's not just one source. And you know, because we know something on social media is very focused on a particular viewpoint, so try and sort of triangulate the facts you're getting. Look at films like Cowspiracy, Dominion, Land of Hope and Glory, which is filming from UK farms. Look at, there's a new film out called Cow. This follows the life of a cow called Luna, and it's a very, very moving. It's a very short film. It's in a lot of art house cinemas at the moment. It's a very, very moving film. So, you know, if you need any more confidence, go and say that. So, knowing all the things that I've just told you there, how can you ever think that eating the body fluids, you know, like cheese and milk, and the bodies of cows or chickens is acceptable? It really, really isn't. There are so many alternatives. There's so many different ways of living now. It really doesn't have to be a way which involves killing animals. We also do supermarket find posts every Tuesday. But if you look at posts like Veganuary, Viva Vegan Recipe Club, or just Google, you know, if we go into Ecosia, ecosia.org.uk, they have a really good search engine there, and you can put in vegan chicken, vegan cheese, vegan chocolate, and they will come up with lots and lots of alternatives. It's absolutely, you know, you'll be spoiled for choice. And isn't this one of the exciting things about Veganuary? Isn't it about, you know, going beyond Veganuary as well, trying all the new things out there? It's a really exciting time to be a vegan, you know, when you're kind of like first doing it. Don't be sort of like worried about doing, you know, about getting the wrong things. Just go out, keep on trying to get them. So I'm going to sign off now. If you like my work, please follow us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Share our social media and like our posts. We really do appreciate it. This is Anna Amelia from Northeast Animal Rights signing off and saying thank you very much for listening, and goodbye for now.